which is just behind all that seeming life that we experience, truth of our own being, truth of creation and creator. So let us turn our minds to that, inquiring, looking, and abiding. Om Namo Narayana. Okay. So we are looking at these important shlokas here, and in this shloka, 18th shloka, it was mentioned Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. So that Pandita who is who has wisdom but yet humility. So this is a qualifying thing, not just wisdom. Wisdom with humility. That is a person who has equal seeing or a equanimous vision of everybody. So not just human beings, also of animals and everything. He looks at it all as with a one underlying, that he looks at that one thing behind everything. So, some contemplation for ourselves, two questions to ask ourselves. By what criteria do I evaluate people in society? Based on their status, riches, education, beauty, or achievements? So, naturally, we, in our worldly interactions, we try to understand whom we are dealing with, what we are trying to deal with, and all that. But our that occupation they have or that status they have, that should not taint our vision of them as a being or as that one hiding truth in them. So when this happens, then is where we develop all this aversions and craving. Our strong likes and dislikes towards people and all in society are based on this. When we don't see the true reality, that essence of their reality. And this is natural in the world. We are also used to it. We value people only based on certain things. Of course, as a seeker of truth, as a certain seeker of higher thing, we should try to associate with such people who are helpful for us, who are in line with us. So it does not mean that we should associate with anybody and everything. But the interaction when we are doing with somebody, we should not carry that residue of their personality, their outer roles and their behavior. So this is a constant thing that we have to keep reminding ourselves. And then again, the question we have to ask, whom do I honor more and whom do I honor less? So, if we are honoring people just because of their riches or their wealth or, achievements or beauty or something like that, then, our understanding is not proper. So, in fact, when we come on the spiritual path, we are asked to honor people who are on the spiritual path, who are higher in this. So, because at least that shift should happen from what we used to originally honor. So eventually, everyone, we should have that same kind of understanding without any discrimination. We should be able to look at everybody. But at the same time, there is nothing wrong in respecting somebody who is of a higher status. So we should just try to understand ourselves. What is that thing that I give respect to? Whom do I give respect to naturally? If those people are just like people who have outward things, then we know that it is temporary. We are giving importance to temporary things. Our understanding of reality is limited by that temporariness. Nobody will always have wealth. Nobody will always have beauty. So all these are temporary things. What we should honor is that permanent, abiding self in everybody. And also similarly, do I hold some people in lower regard? So this is, where that we can develop a discriminative attitude towards some people. So this is where, the teachings are pointing to, regardless of a person's caste, religion, nationality, skin color, and whatever differences we perceive, that one reality is there in everybody. So, from that vision, we should see everybody at that level. In interactions wise, sometimes we have to be discerning. Like some people, we have to be careful how much we give them our time, association, and all that, because that will also pull us down. But in our vision, there should not be that discrimination. So that is our understanding. How can I benefit by giving my attention and care to those who are needy? So sometimes, this is also a practice, having a sense of compassion, understanding. So sometimes some people who may not have that same privilege. There is that shloka in that sutra in Patanjali, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, and Upeksha. Maitri for somebody who's at our level, equal status. Karuna for somebody who has lower privileges than us. Mudita for somebody who has higher privileges than us. So we have a respectful feeling towards them. And somebody who is evil or not trustworthy, then we try to be indifferent. Meaning we don't allow their negativity to touch us, meaning internally. So this is a way also to practice this equal vision. Who are the role models that I can look up to whose values and life experiences may elevate my intellectual and spiritual growth? So our role models are also important. Whom are we taking as our role models? Because the people whom we take as a role model is what attributes and qualities we develop. If we take a role model of somebody who is kind of occupied completely in a worldly kind of thing, even though that person may be rich and all that, if he doesn't have that proper qualities, that good spiritual, uplifting, humanic qualities, then slowly we will imbibe that. So those are very important things to consider. Okay, so this is the 18th shloka, and so we will look at a couple of more points in this shloka. So basically, in this shloka, it was mentioned that Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, and what are the examples that are given? Brahmana, Gavi, Hastini, Shunicheva, Shvapaka. Brahmana is a man who is of learned, who is a well-learned person. Gavi, a cow, Hastini, elephant. So the difference, what is the difference? A cow is considered a little more sattvic. And a Hastini is considered a little more tamasic. Hastini means elephant. Elephant is generally tends to be a little more tamasic. And the dog is generally more rajasic. So these are different gunas. So now he's saying that, do we distinguish people based on gunas? Do we, because these people have these gunas, then they have different order in the society also. Or from a spiritual perspective also we say, right? Like we were just saying, people with sattvic gunas are the ones we should associate with. Okay, so that is true. But at the same time, we should not have this attitude where this Atma has gunas. So the Atma of the person doesn't have guna. So when we say a person has sattvika guna, what are we referring to? Who or what of that person are we referring to has sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic guna?
Is intellect?
Intellect.
Buddhi.
And, we
Buddhi,
can
manas.
say Antakarana, the
Anta.
mind, intellect, chitta also. So that is what we are. Not the Atma. The Atma it doesn't have any gunas. So if we say the Atma has gunas, then what happens? Then there is always a distinction between one Atma and another Atma. Hmm? Right? So that cannot be that. If there is one Atma and other Atma, then they are always they'll always have differences between the people. So this is the attitude. The person's behavior and interaction is influenced by their gunas. I interact with such and such a person based on the gunas. But my seeing of that person, how I see that person, if I see that person as having gunas, then there is a problem in the vision I have. And that will influence my spiritual evolution also, or spiritual progress also. So this is why, he also includes Shopaka. So from a Vedic perspective, Shopaka is the lowest of a person. Shopaka means a dog eater, a person who eats dog meat. So this person is of a lowest status in the Vedic society perspective. But now in the Bhagavad Gita, see from Veda's point, they may still call this person from the earlier part of the Vedas at least, they may think such a person is of lower status. But from the Bhagavad Gita perspective, this person has the same status as a Brahmana, who is the highest in the Vedic thing. So these are, from a Vedic perspective, the high and the low, the highest and the lowest people from the status of the society status. But yet these are now called, are equated in the same thing. Now, the one question, maybe all of you can also think a little bit on this, is that when we say that when this person who is such a has such a bad habit or such a bad uh, attribute, we can say that. Let us say he's like a criminal or somebody who has bad behavior, bad attitude, bad habits, and all that. And we can generally kind of what we label as uh, people who are bad in the society. So, but yet now, what happens if we say that that person has such is bad in his habits and all that behavior and all that, but if we say that person is essentially bad, meaning if we say his atma is bad, what is the wrong conclusion we are coming, meaning what is the wrong understanding we have come to from a spiritual or a philosophical perspective? If you say inherently that atma of that person is bad, so what has happened if we say that person atma is inherently bad? What is the philosophical conclusion we have come to about Atma or about anything?
This is a superimposition. Huh? We are seeing the Atma as the Jiva.
That is also one good point. Yeah, we are seeing the Atma as Jiva. But what is philosophy?
Upadhi, no?
Upadhi, correct. We are judging the Upadhi. But let us say we judge the Atma itself like that. Let us say, for the matter of just discussion only, if we, let us say we take that person is inherently bad, atma is bad, like we say some people they are hopeless, like we sometimes say, right? Even in ashram sometimes they say, this person is hopeless, we can't do anything. So so the idea is like, that person's atma itself is bad. So what happens if sometimes we say that Atma itself is bad? What philosophical conclusion, erroneous philosophical conclusion we have come to?
Is it that
That
the Atma can
has
be tainted?
qualities. Yes. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Rui.
I was saying it's an erroneous conclusion. Atma does not have qualities inherently. It's
Yeah.
pure consciousness, awareness.
Correct.
And
That
it
is
is
good.
not good, not bad.
That is
We
one
are
point.
attributing
Yes, well,
qualities to something that cannot be qualified.
we are giving qualities to something that cannot be qualified. Huh? Okay, what else? Oh, Varun, what were you saying?
The idea that the Atma can be tainted. So this idea is coming when we say Atma is bad and all. But scripture says again, Bhagavad Gita also said it can't be tainted anything, can't touch the fire, XYZ things. So it doesn't go.
Ah, that is also true. Huh? That Atma. But what can we know about the concept of Atma? What is that is an erroneous thing. Huh? The Atma is now tainted. Huh? Then, as you were saying, the Atma has qualities. So all this is not true. Huh? But if we say one person's Atma is bad, huh? What are we saying inherently when we say that one person's Atma is bad? Meaning, what is the conclusion we are coming to?
That means all Atma is bad.
All Atmas are bad. So that is the point. So if we say that one person's Atma is bad, then what is it saying? It is like saying, like if you say the waters, or the wave of that water is dirty. So basically, we are the waters, the waves water is dirty. Then the ocean itself is dirty, right? So basically, what is the idea is that Atma is one. There is not like there is a different Atmas. This is where there is a different perception. So even in sometimes when we take Sankhya, we say different Purushas are there. There is this Purusha and that Purusha and all that. But of course, the essence of the teaching is not exactly that, but that is how the teachings are spread out. So in that context, if one Atma is bad, if one person's Atma is bad, then our Atma also has to be bad. So there is no such thing like that, because so in order to save ourselves, we have to at least say, okay, that Atma is pure. At least if you want to admit that we are good, then we should not at least admit that other person's Atma is bad. The mind and intellect of that person might be tainted with gunas, with impurities and all that. But not that Atma, because that Atma Tattva is that one consciousness. That one consciousness pervades everything. So, in fact, see, this is the same thing. When you take Sankhya and other things, there is no difference. There also that consciousness, what is the nature of consciousness is the same. So there you cannot admit that one person's consciousness, that Purusha is slightly bigger or smaller or all that, right? So all Purushas are same in that sense. So the essence of everyone is that one reality. Now, this point, when we understand, there is one more aspect to this, which is that um, so when he's talking about Samadarshana, what is that Samadarshana? Meaning that equal vision. When we say we are seeing equal vision, we are saying that person, if he's going through certain things, that attributes we said, that person's Atma and all that. So we have to be humble enough, like he said, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. We have knowledge and wisdom that the Atma is the one reality. Now, why do we have to be humble? We discussed this point, because then we have open-mindedness and we are able to, not have that sense of superiority. But when we accept this, we also one more thing, that humility by trait is not the trait of Atma. If we come to that conclusion, right, like, okay, I am a very humble person. Others are not a humble people. That is okay at the level of mind. But that level of the Atma is not even like that good and pure qualities is not part of that Atma. Otherwise, that humility itself will become a distinction quality, right? So here is what we are saying. Those qualities of humility and all that, they are helpful for the sadhana perspective. But from realizing our true nature, there is no such difference. Okay, so these are some points. before we move to the next one. So why this discussion came is because there is one darshana. There is a darshana, mostly the Vaisheshika darshana, which is part of the Astika darshanas. So Nyaya also to some extent. So they actually say Atma has attributes. So they say that when we distinguish one individual to another individual, that some Atmas have these attributes. They are the distinctive qualities of one Atma to another Atma. So that is not what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching. Bhagavad Gita is refuting that Vaisheshika's claim that Atma has qualities. So as one of you were saying, it is the Upadhi which has all these qualities. The Atma itself is that pure entity. So we can take it in this way that when Vaisheshikas are saying that, so basically they are superimposing the qualities of the intellect onto the Atma. So this is how now the next shloka will come with the realization of that one equal or that equal vision of that one Atma in everyone. What happens? You become free because that every problem and everything you are seeing is based on these degrees of experiences of life. And if once you learn to, this is what in Kenopanishad also we're learning, right? When we learn to see this unconditioned awareness in all these names and forms, that pure awareness which was never conditioned, when you learn to see that, then what happens? That is that reality which will free us, because then we are no longer upset by life, or this punya papa and the sukha dukkha will not affect us. All the virtues and sins, happiness and sorrows of life, because we know the essential truth, and all these changing experiences will not make too much of impact on us when that our wisdom is there on that. Okay, so let us, any questions, comments related to this? Otherwise, we can look at the shlokas. Okay, let us chant these shlokas. Shloka 18. We can start from there also again. Please repeat after me. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Brahmane Gavihastini
Brahmane
Brahmane
Gavihastini
Gavihastini
Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha
Shuni
Shuni
Chaiva
Chaiva Shvapake Cha
Pandita Samadarshinaha
Pandita
Panditaha
Samadarshinaha
Samadarshinaha
Ihaivaterjita Sargo
Ihaivatirjita Sargo
Go
Yesham Samye Stitam Manaha
Yesham
Yesham
Samye
Samye
Manaha
Stitamaha
Nirdosham Hi Samam Brahma
Nirdosham
Nirdosham
Samam
Samam
Brahma
Brahma
Tasmad Brahmani Te Sthitaha
Tasmat
Tasmad
Brahmani Te
Brahmanite Stitaha
Na Prahrishyet Priyam Prapya
Na Prahrushyet
Aprahrishre
Priyam
Priyam
Prapya
Prapya
No Dvijet Prapya Cha Priyam
No Dvije
Vijay
Prapya Cha
Prapya Cha Priyam
Dhira Buddhira Sammudho
Tira Buddhira
Tira Buddhira
Sammudo
Sammudo
Brahmavid Brahmani Stithaha.
Brahmavid Brahmani
Brahmavid Brahmani
Stitaha
Stitaha
So now these are the central shlokas which is explaining that heart of this chapter and the jnana, the stage of jnana. So what happens when that person has that equal vision? Now this shloka says, Ihaiva terjita sargo esham samye sthitam manaha. Ihaiva, right here, in this world, in this life, in this present life itself, what happens? Terjita sarge, the person overcomes samsara, as in birth and death, the repeated cycle of birth and death. He overcomes in this life only. Sarge literally means something creating, something being born. But with that, we also take that cycle, birth and death cycle. Esham samye sthitam manaha, that person whose mind is established in what? Established in that equal vision of that one reality which pervades everyone and everything. That one truth which is in me, which is in everyone, which is the heart of all that is in this world. When we see that and the mind gets established in that, what I was saying, right? When we are able to stabilize in that unconditioned awareness in all the names and forms of this world, then what happens? Nirdosham hi samam brahma, that flawless Brahman, the flawless Atman, that one which doesn't have any defects and which doesn't have any qualities also, like gunas and also the papa, punya, sukha, dukkha, the virtues, sins, happiness, sorrow. It is free from all that. That Brahman, not the Brahman which, as we know, the Brahman that is worshipped as God, that is a Saguna Brahma, that is full of purity, goodness, and all that. That Brahman, which here this Brahman is what? Nirdoshami samam Brahman, that unconditioned Brahman, which has no flaws, no attributes, no upadhis, nothing. That Brahman. Tasmad Brahmani te stitaha. They are established in that Brahman. So here a couple of couple of points that are given, which may not be clear right from that shloka. What are these points? Is see, first he's saying that once you realize this truth, you are freed right here, right now. It is not like you have to wait until death. So that what is called as Jivan Mukti, So that state of freedom in this moment, in this life, when you're in the body itself, you become free. You gain victory over samsara because that you awaken to that one truth of this moment or this present, which is the only reality. So when you awaken to this, what there is no future, there is no past, nothing in that state of Brahman. There is that no division between past, present, and future in that Brahman. So that state is right here. He says ihaiva. You can say right here and right now. That kind of state. So this state which is there, it is instantaneous freedom. It doesn't need to wait until death. So in the general literature, we talk about two things. We say there's Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti means you get freed here, but there is still some remnants of karma, prarabdha karma, which you have to experience, and then after death you become completely free. So this is a general notion. But here he's actually saying that that is not true at that level, meaning for a person who is free, that he may seem to be here going through the body and all that, but that mind is freed already. There is no kind of prarabdha from that mind point of view. That person as a jiva is already free. But of course, it seems like the body goes through and all that. So from one explanation, we can take it like that. But the real explanation is that person is internally, that shift has happened. There is no more bondage for that person. Why? Because this is what he's saying, that Sesham samya sthitam manaha, that he has attained that oneness, that one samya, meaning that he has established in that one thing which remains equal. See, Brahman is that one thing which remains equal in everything. Everything else has degrees in the world. Everything else has high intensities, degrees, colors, highs and lows and everything. Only this one, this pure thing. So when he says nirdosham hi samam brahma, the commentators have a discussion. So how is it nirdosham? Let's take for example some water, like we can say Ganga water. If the Ganga water is flowing, we say generally Ganga water is pure. But then once it goes to some places where there is some some dirty water at some places, then the water gets mixed and the water gets defiled. So how can we say Brahman is nirdosham, because this Atma is going through the world. huh? Atma is experiencing all this world, right? So when you're experiencing the world, then you're tainted by the world, isn't it? Like the samsara, the ups and downs of samsara is itself taint. It has certain taints. What is a taint? Like it creates punya papa at the metaphysical level, and at the mental level, it creates happiness and sorrow. So this happens. So the Atma is going through this. How is it the Atma is like that? So then the discussion says that it is, they give that is, they say that is not the example. Why? Because that nature of water is like used as a part of the elements. The elements undergo those kind of transformation. But in the elements, if you take the example of space, for example, space, wherever it is not tainted. Like if you throw some color in space, what happens? Does it stick to it? It doesn't stick to it, right? So that is how that Atma Tattva, that consciousness is like that. Even though that consciousness is seemingly in this aggregate of body, mind, complex, it remains like space. It doesn't get tainted. Or the other example they give is also of sunlight. When the light of that sun comes, we can change that light and make it look like red, white, and all that, based on some window glasses we put and all that, right? But that light itself doesn't undergo inherent change. That light remains pure as it is only. So this point here, he's mentioning here, and he's connecting to one more point here. Like when, because he said in the Bhashya, he's mentioning in that earlier shloka, it was mentioned, this, let's say, uh, here you see in the shloka 17, it was mentioned, the one who's established in that, he says, Gachanti punaravrittim. He who is established in doesn't return, meaning he doesn't return back to that normal state of what a normal person interacting, he doesn't return to that state where he's thinking that I am this person going through this happiness and sorrow. Once you realize that Brahman, you'll not come back to that state. So if the true realization is like that, it is not like, one day I'm happy. I like, sometimes this is where sadhakas can be mistaken. Today I did some puja, meditation, japa, and I feel good. But then you realize, oh, tomorrow again I'm feeling down, I'm unhappy, and all that. So that is the sadhana, that is the karma, the how the karma does all that. It is meaning any kind of practice, actions, and all has ups and downs. Knowledge, wisdom, realization is not like that. So this is why is it not like that? Because this is the realization of who you are, you know. So this is also sometimes people say, okay, Swamiji, all this Vedanta is good for a while. At some age, my memory is going to go down and I'm going to forget all this. Then, I'm going to suffer like everybody else. Why? Because then, nowadays, people are, like the memory, everything goes down after whatever age. We also see that many shlokas we learned when we were kids, many times we don't remember now. So then means like you're losing everything. It's all gone. All you studied so many years. It's all a waste, right? So no, it's not like that. That understanding of who you are as your essence, that will never go. Huh? See, like a person who has amnesia might forget his name, but he will not forget he's there, right? Like that, as he will still say, I don't know my name. So he knows that he's there. He's there. Huh? He doesn't remember that quality of that name. So this memory is initially helpful, but eventually what we are trying to establish is that awareness itself. Once you establish in the nature of awareness, then you don't need that mind. That mind is not a constant. That mind is the means for redirecting that attention to that Brahman. But it is not necessary that you always need that mind. So similarly, here that point is that in this world, once we realize that, then you're established in that. Tasmad Brahmani te stitaha. So this point is very important. That stitaha, that establishing in that state. There is no any point, anything else in this world of names and forms that you can be established in anything else, except in Brahman, except in that consciousness. Everything else is coming and going. Brahman is the only thing where we can say you can be established, you can be you can be anchored, or you can be, every kind of anchor is a temporary anchor otherwise. Uh, so even like we know, right, like a house, whatever material you use built on that house, something or the other can always come and take that house away. An earthquake, flood, or whatever can come, right? So with this one, it is not like that. Why? Because that he says in the next shloka, na prahrishyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam. He comes back to the famous thing of the favorite thing of Bhagavan, in the Bhagavad Gita. What is it? The state of stability. You get something, you're not elated. You don't get something, then you're not depressed. So this is that samatva. Again, he comes back to that ultimate samatva, which originally a karma yogi practices by not being attached to results and all that. The person who is a knower of wisdom is naturally gets established in that. A knower of Brahman, with the steady intellect, sthira buddhir some asammuda, steady intellect and undiluted, is neither elated by the pleasant nor dejected by the unpleasant. Life's ups and downs does not, because then what has happened, that stability has come in that underlying reality, in that supreme truth. So the ups and downs of life will not make so much of distance. And then this is a famous word. This comes actually in many Upanishads. This is the same in different ways they put it. Brahmavid Brahmavid Brahmani stitaha. The one who is a knower of Brahman is established in Brahman. Meaning knowledge is the main. Knowledge is the wisdom is the means for realization. Wisdom is the mean for establishing in the final truth. In the Upanishads, it's Brahmavid Brahmaiva bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. So similarly here, the knower of Brahman is established in Brahman. So we discussed about this, right? Like when that Saul doll went to inquire the nature of ocean, what happened? That Saul doll became that ocean. So then many people get dejected. I wanted to enjoy that independent. I wanted to, become free, and now I've lost that individuality. I can't come back also to the world. There were so many unfinished tasks. I cannot come back to the and so the point of coming back. It is that uh, um, so actually it is not like so much that we are losing that individuality as such. We are losing that wrong individuality, but we are gaining that real nature of who we are. We were never what we thought we were. So all these things who we think we are is a superimposition. So we get attached to this, and then we are happy somewhat living with this, So many times, like even if um, if somebody is in a house which is broken down and all that, but then they get attached to that house. They say, I know I'm happy here and all that, right? Somebody offers them better place also, they say, no, this is better. I've lived here, I grew up here and all that. So sometimes it is like that. Our wrong identifications causes us attachment. We want to remain this limited individual being, even though we are suffering and all that. But of course, when the suffering gets more higher and higher, we are willing to drop it. But until that suffering is manageable, we are happy with that. So similarly, life is like that. We associate with lot of things, the wrong people, the wrong place, the wrong things. We all get attached to all these wrong things, even though they're giving us suffering. We somehow are kind of okay with that, because we think that there is nothing better. We don't have idea of anything higher, anything deeper. That bliss, that reality, that true nature, we don't know yet. So we think, okay, I will lose this, I will lose that also. But what the Shastras here is pointing to us is that once you realize there is no coming back, because you become who you were in the first place. That Satchidananda, we say, that pure consciousness. You become that itself. Then all these problems which we were coping with, somehow trying to manage with, they're all kind of gone. So, the other reason why people want to hang on to it is because they say, okay, I'm progressing somehow, I'm at least better than such and such a person. See, so many people have problems. I'm at least better than them. I'm not as bad as them. So, see, that little fault of yours and little fault of everyone else, that will all be gone. So that is why, he says, when you're established in that supreme reality, then you are not going to have that attachment to that pleasant worldly things and that unpleasant things. You will not be averse to, because you realize they are not real. They're all temporary. So this understanding, this wisdom, so there is that natural abiding in that samatva here. Originally, through karma yoga, we were practicing that samatva. With wisdom, what happens? That abiding in that equanimous state, that becomes natural. That becomes, because you see through. This is a vision we have. Samadarshana. So this, he has now, what he has equated is that equanimous vision he has equated with the self-abiding or abiding in Brahman. Okay, so this much now is so basically one point with this is now he has established that in that through that and what was that one the pure consciousness which was never tainted. It was not the doer, it was not even the enjoyer of things. That consciousness he tried to project through wisdom, through that removal of ignorance. That ignorance had enveloped that natural wisdom. So that he showed us that doership, everything that is gone now through that wisdom. Now, once that wisdom has come, then how do you establish in that? So the intellect is the means. Through that intellect, abidance in that truth happens, and from there you get to that state of non-returning to that upadhi state. You are no longer back to that state of just being a limited entity. And then the equal vision comes. So that through that equal vision, you see that taintless Atma Tattva, Samam Brahma. Okay. Anybody has any questions? We will look at the next set of shlokas in the next class. Here is point mentioned. Equanimity should not be mistaken for indifference. Sometimes we talk about this, right? Like sometimes equanimity, when we say it is not indifference, it is through wisdom. So if we have to be kind to people, we have to be kind to people. But it's not like we are indifferent to others' suffering. Equanimity is seeing that they are pure, they are of the same essence as all of us. So we must learn to recognize those who require our attention and those who deserve reverence. As a practice in shaping our value system, we must shift our focus from our impulse of honoring the wealthy and powerful to prioritizing our respect for those who are spiritual. Okay. So of course, these are like practices. The goal is beyond that. Okay, these things we will look at next class, the manana. Anybody has anything to ask? Okay, the equanimity, maybe I have a question here. When we talk about this equal vision, there's an equal vision and abidance in that Brahman. Now, uh, 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 we are talking, the chapter we are discussing is karma sannyasa. What is this equal vision and abidance in that Brahman, which is the goal of all spiritual practices? What does this have to do with the topic of karma sannyasa yoga? When we are talking about karma sannyasa yoga, why is he shifted the discussion to equal vision, abidance in Brahman?
Swami, because the jivas, they are multiple on the door. And in karma sannyasa, we are trying to be free of the sense of the door, nah? The one who does. And when we are free from it, we can maybe see that we are Brahma. I don't know if I can say it.
Yeah, but that point is good. Karma sannyasa is what? Karma sannyasa is being free from sense of doership. So when we are free from that sense of doership, so now the point, now you all can, some others can also try. So what is the sense of doership? How does the sense of doership now go away when there is equal vision or the vision of seeing everything as equal? Or abiding in the Brahman.
Isn't that Swamiji sense of doership? We are trying to get away from knowledge. So once we have the knowledge, we come to the idea that everything is one. Since everything is one, how does anything matter then? Whatever comes goes, like everything is one only, no? So then no doership, no action, no result.
Yeah, that is mostly the point about knowledge. So, when does doership come? Doership comes when we lack that sense of knowledge, the true knowledge of who we are. Then, as I think she was saying, then we take ourselves to be the jiva. So, in the jiva, inherent in the jiva is what? What is the fundamental difference between Atma and Jiva? When we say we are Atma and we are Jiva, what is the fundamental difference? I mean, there are many, of course, we can say, but fundamentally from this chapter point.
Is it the egolessness, Swamiji?
Egolessness is, but ego itself is Jiva, so the egolessness means Atma. So what is the difference between fundamentally?
Jiva is many, Atma is one.
That is also correct. But from the Jiva point, why is a Jiva still a Jiva and not an Atma?
False knowledge, ignorance.
Ignorance, avidya. So see, avidya is the cause for a Jiva to be Jiva. We can say it is the ego, but why is it an ego? It is an ego because of ignorance. I mentioned there is fundamentally no difference between Jiva and Atma, except that the Jiva has avidya. Ignorance. See, when there is ignorance, there is a sense of doership. And when there is sense of doership, what happens? You are acting as though that you are different from others, and there is no that vision of equanimous vision is no longer there. So these are different ways to approach that same truth. Whether you take as equal vision or freedom from doership or freedom from avidya. See, these are all means through which that knowledge of reality has to be established. So when equal vision is there, how is equal vision established? Through knowledge. How is doership eradicated? Through knowledge. See, both of that is why this connection has come. If you are able to see that equal vision, then that means that you will no longer have doership. So that is why, this he has, on this point, he has brought it. Okay. Okay, any other comment? If not, we can end it early.
So, Ami, can I ask you something?
Sure.
I don't know if it's possible to answer, but what is the main point that make us able to be established in knowledge? Is it has with something with vairagya or something else? Because it's this is a grace also, huh? We cannot force it.
Yes.
We can study, and still we feel like a door.
Yeah. So that is true. So of course, all the discussions are about that itself. What establishes us in that knowledge and all that. So even the study, practice, all that can have the sense of doership, and it can create again that another kind of samskara. But basically, as we are all studying that originally what has happened is that our life, or what we are experiencing our life, if we are not inquiring into it, if we are not inquiring into the nature of our existence, we are accepting as it is, then we will not seek out knowledge. So the main idea why we what makes us seek out knowledge is that even though you have grace, it cannot be forced upon you, right? See, like let us say you have a lot of punya, a lot of good things, but if you don't want knowledge, it cannot be forced upon you. It will come in the later chapters. Bhagwan's actually it came before, right? Which chapter is it? It will probably come in the. It is like yo yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyam. Has a person worships me, so will I reward him. Meaning, if we go to Bhagavan with the sense of just asking for some worldly material things, we will be blessed with that. So grace by itself will not confer knowledge unless we are seeking knowledge. So this is where this is the only bit of purushartha at all, if at all anything. What is that meaning? That purushartha means that seeking. What is that effort we can put in? That effort we can put it in is wanting to understand the truth, wanting to understand deeper reality. This is not this we can say that we get it through grace, but ultimately it has to be something that each person inquires. And when we inquire, then we get the grace. So that is usually how it is mentioned. So when you start inquiring, then we find through grace the teacher, the scripture, and other things. So this is where how we look at life, how we experience life. The difference in individuals, we see this. Some people will look at life, they're okay with it. Even though something bad happens, in life, they will say, okay, what to do, everybody, and go some bad, or I was unlucky, unfortunate, and But some people will look into it. Why is this happening? How can I be free forever from this? And that is where, the ability to inquire makes the difference from one to another. See, it doesn't ultimately matter whether we are studying scriptures or whether you are seeking through whichever ways, that unless a person, that jignasu we mentioned, right, that inquiring mind is not there, that knowledge will not come to that person. So after that, we say all that is necessary, viveka, vairagya, mumukshutva, all that will come. But initial thing is that that vichara, that inquiry has to be there. Okay, we will end it at this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Narayana.